Shalom. First and foremost, I give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God Yahweh, in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai, the world calls Jesus Christ. Right, today we'll be going into what a mamzer is, right, as well as addressing the points that other people say what a mamzer is. Right, so starting with the Wikipedia, it says in the Hebrew Bible and Jewish religious law, a mamzer is a person who was born as the result of certain forbidden relationships or incest as it is defined by the Bible. All right, so keep track of that. Incest as it is defined by the Bible. Or the descendant of such a person, right? Or a descendant of someone from incest. So it says mamzer status is not synonymous with the traditional Western definition of illegitimacy. Illegitimacy. Illegitimate. All right. So I can't even pronounce this. Illegitimacy. So right? Western definition of illegitimacy, since it does not include children born to unmarried mothers, right? Now, this is dealing with the sense of how bastard is used, right? An illegitimate child in the Western common law is the status of a child born to parents who are legally married to each other and of a child conceived before the parents obtain a legal divorce. Conversely, illegitimacy, also known as bastardy, has been the status of a child born outside of marriage, right? So we always hear a child born out of wedlock, or that's what they call a bastard today, right? An illegitimate child because they weren't in a legal unison according to Western standards, right? So that's why it says a mamzer status is not synonymous with the traditional Western definition of illegitimacy, since it does not include children born to unmarried mothers. Right, so etymology. Some have explained the word mamzer as the masculine noun derived from the root having a meaning of spoiled or corrupt. According to Strong's Concordance, which we're going to see, this is what people mainly get the definition from, right? The Strong's Concordance says from an unused root meaning to alienate, a mongrel is like a mutt, i.e., born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother, right? So this is why they'll go to examples where the Israelites sent away their children and their wives because they were being raised in Gentile customs. And they'll say, well, see, look, this is a law that they were supposed to be keeping. They're not supposed to be marrying heathen women. But again, outside of Deuteronomy 7, the nations that are listed doesn't say anything about Israelites marrying outside of the nation of Israel, right? As long as it's not those 7 Canaanite nations. And then those talk about a Jewish father or Israelite father and a heathen mother makes this baby now a mamzer, which doesn't make any sense because a mamzer is not a race. If all throughout the Bible we see multiple time in Numbers, not just Numbers 1, but Numbers 4, as well as Ezra 2, Tobit 13, it is the custom to keep track of your lineage by your father, right? And even in biology with the man carrying the seed, right? So your nation or your ethnicity is determined by what your father is. So we can get this real quick. All right, Numbers 1 and 18. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. Right, and it says this multiple times in Numbers. Right, take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi after their families by the house of their fathers. Take also the sum of the sons of Gershon throughout the houses of their fathers by their families. As for the sons of Merari, thou shalt number them after their families by the house of their fathers. Right, so over and over again, we keep seeing this throughout Numbers. Right, we reference Ezra 2 and 59. It says, and these were they which went up from Tel Malah, Tel Harsa, Cherub, Adon, and Immer, but they could not show their father's house and their seed, whether they were of Israel, right? Showing that what? You are who your father is. If your father is an Israelite, then you would be a descendant from one of the 12 tribes, right? So going back here, we understand that this cannot be the accurate definition according to the context in Deuteronomy 23. And it also says right here, right, Hebrew Bible usage. The term occurs twice in the Hebrew Bible. The first time is Deuteronomy 23:3. The Septuagint translates the term mamzer as son of a prostitute. So again, where we first see it appear is Deuteronomy 23, this word that's translated to bastard, right? This is the Hebrew word mamzer. This will load right here. All right, so like a bastard, right? Mamzer. When we go to, we see this is the Masoretic text, we go to the Greek Septuagint, and Deuteronomy 23 in the Greek Septuagint shows what? One born of a harlot shall not enter into the assembly of the Lord. Now, so like you're going back to further just this point before we go on to the son of a harlot, right? Born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother. Numbers 12:1, Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses, right? Moses was a Levite, because of the Ethiopian woman whom he had married. For he had married an Ethiopian woman, right? So the woman that he married and had children with was not an Israelite. And what are his kids considered? First Chronicles 23:14. Now concerning Moses, the man of God, his sons were named of the tribe of Levi. The sons of Moses were Gershom and Eleazar. Then it goes on listing all these different Levites. And then look at verse 24. These were the sons of Levi, so they're considered of the tribe of Levi, after the house of their fathers. There it is again. Even the chief of the fathers, as they were counted by number of names by their polls, that did the work for the service of the house of Yahweh from the age of 20 years and upward. Right. So Moses' sons and Moses' wife was not an Israelite. She would be, according to this definition, or according to the Strong's Concordance, his children should be mamzers, right? Because Moses, who was a Levite, married and had children with an Ethiopian woman, a heathen woman. So his children would have a heathen mother, but again, it calls them the sons of Levi. Now, let's get Genesis 19. As a matter of fact, we can go to Jephthah, because we already talked about the Greek Septuagint saying one born of a harlot. Right now in Judges 11, it says, now Jephthah, the Gileadite, so it calls him a descendant of Gilead, right? An Israelite. Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor, and he was the son of an harlot. But it still calls him a Gileadite, but he's the son of a harlot. So now we see it doesn't fit the definition of how the Greek Septuagint says what a mamzer is, right? The son of a prostitute or the son of a harlot, because Jephthah is called a Gileadite. And again, we just see over and over, you are what your father is. But now look at this next part, right? And Gilead begat Jephthah, and Gilead's wife bare him sons, and his wife's sons grew up, and they thrust out Jephthah and said unto him, thou shalt not inherit in our father's house, for thou art the son of a strange woman, right? And then after they end up going to war, they needed him. So they end up calling back for him. So let's see. Yeah, we could just read 7 and 8. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, did not ye hate me and expel me out of my father's house? And why are ye come unto me now when ye are in distress? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, therefore we turn again to thee now, that thou mayest go with us and fight against the children of Ammon, and be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead. And Jephthah said unto the elders of Gilead, if you bring me home again to fight against the children of Ammon, and Yahweh deliver them before me, shall I be your head? And the elders of Gilead said unto Jephthah, Yahweh be witness between us, if we do not so according to thy words. All right, then Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and captain over them. And Jephthah uttered all his words before Yahweh in Mizpeh. Right, so again, Jephthah is the son of a harlot, and he is called a Gileadite. All right, so regardless of his brothers casting him out, he's still of his father's house, still a Gileadite. Now, going back, where are we at? 10 minutes. Okay, cool. So going back to Deuteronomy 23. All right, so we see the context of this is used in, right? A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. So we already laid out and showed that it's not dealing with someone who's has a Israelite father and a heathen mother, right? Because Moses' kids are Levites. It's not someone who is born of a harlot, because Jephthah is called a Gileadite. So a bastard. Now the only definition that we're left with is someone born of incest. Man, let's move slow. All right. Only definition we're left with is someone born of incest, right? A child of incest. So, which the context supports, because it says a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. What is the subject? A bastard not entering into the congregation of the Lord. So now we got to establish what is the congregation of the Lord. Lamentations 1 and 10. It says, the adversary has spread out his hand upon all her pleasant things, for she had seen the heathen, right, non-Israelites, entered into her sanctuary, dealing with the temple, whom thou didst command that they should not enter into thy congregation. So now we see the congregation being synonymous with the sanctuary, right, which is the temple. So this is saying a bastard shall not enter into the temple of Yahweh, even to his 10th generation. Meaning what? People will try to say that this is saying once it gets to the 10th generation, now they can enter. No, this is saying even to his 10th generation, doubling down on the fact that these people cannot enter into the congregation. And even when they get to the 10th generation, they still can't enter into the congregation. Right? So we see this for a bastard. And then the next verse says, an Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of Yahweh. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of Yahweh forever. So we see this with the Ammonites and the Moabites. And now when we see how the Ammonites and Moabites origin in Genesis 19, right, we start at 30, right, dealing with Lot. It's Lot's sons with his two daughters. Right, so Genesis 19 and 30, it says, and Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him. Right, so this is after Sodom and Gomorrah had got destroyed. His wife looked back, got turned into the pillar of salt. The two daughters and their the husbands that they were espoused to be with, they died. So it's just Lot and his two daughters up in this cave. Right, so Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, he and his two daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Right? Because where they were just at just got destroyed. So now they're thinking it's just these two women and their father that's left. So it says, come, let us make our father drink wine. All right, so they're going to get him drunk, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, right? So they had intercourse, and he perceived not when she lay down, right? Because again, he's drunk, he's not in his right mind, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn son, or it's like the firstborn said unto the younger, behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him. So they got the same plan for the younger daughter, right? That we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughter of Lot, so like both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Benami. The same is the father of the children of Ammon until this day. So we see from these two incest children, or these two children of incest, two nations came from them, right? The nation of the Moabites as well as the nation of the Ammonites. And what was their origin? In incest. So now we go back to Deuteronomy 23 and we see that this bastard is not supposed to enter into the congregation forever, even at the 10th generation. And then it lists the two nations whose origin is dealing with incest. This is what it's dealing with, right? These children of incest, right? A mamzer is not to enter into the congregation of the Lord forever, right? And we can end it with this in Nehemiah. 15 minutes. Yeah, we got time. So I'll do one more after this. So Nehemiah 13:1, right? Foreigners excluded. On that day, they read in the book of Moses in the audience of the people, and therein was found written that the Ammonite and the Moabite, right, these same two nations whose origin is in incest, should not come into the congregation of God forever, right? They are that bastard that is mentioned, right? The mamzers, children of incest that are to be excluded from the temple, right? So we had did a lesson on the SICARRI Phoenix Online Bible School on Facebook and did a lesson going into Ruth, right? We read the whole book. There's only 4 chapters. It took like 10 minutes. Went into the whole book of Ruth, establishing that she was a Moabite, right? One of those nations whose origin was in incest, right? So she is a mamzer according to the scriptures. Now, in the marriage of Ruth, right, we went into this in the lesson, but just to get to the point, right, Boaz is marrying her, goes to another kinsman who is a closer kinsman to Naomi than Boaz is, and tells him that he has right to redeem Elimelech, I believe that's the name. Ruth 1. Elimelech, Khan. So Boaz goes to this other close relative. It doesn't name him, but he goes to the other close relative and says that you're a closer kinsman to Elimelech, and you have the first right to redeem it. And if you don't, then I'm going to. So right here in verse 6, it says the kinsman, right, the one who was a nearer kinsman to Elimelech than Boaz was, he said, what? I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Right? And look at what Boaz had said in the verse prior. He said, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess. So he was supposed to acquire the land as well as Naomi's daughter-in-law, Ruth the Moabite, right? The wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, right? Dealing with the law in Deuteronomy where you raise up seed unto your brother, so his name isn't forgotten in Israel, right? So the kinsman says, Boaz can go ahead and do it. Verse 7, now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel, right? And when we read about this in, let me do it on a different tab. Is that Deuteronomy 25? Let me double check. Come on, Deuteronomy 25. And verse 6, right? Verse 5 talks about the brother dying, and the husband's brother shall go in unto her, take her to him to wife, perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her, meaning he's going to raise up seed unto his brother. Verse 6, and it shall be that the firstborn which she beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, to let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuseth to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel, he will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. So this woman's supposed to go up to the gate and call the elders of the city, speak unto him, and if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife, right, the same woman who comes up to the gate to the elders, the brother's wife is going to come and say, what? In the presence of the elders, and loose his shoe from off his foot, and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto the man that will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that hath his shoe loose. So this is the custom being referenced in Ruth 4 and 7. And the woman did it in the law. We just read about it in Deuteronomy 25. And look at verse 8. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe. The woman couldn't do it because why? We just read in Deuteronomy 23 that the Moabites, or a bastard, a mamzer, shall never come into the congregation of the Lord forever. So that is another precept just proving that, one, Ruth was a Moabite. Like we went into the lesson on the SICARRI Phoenix Online Bible School on Facebook. And two, that a mamzer is dealing with someone who is of a product of incest, right? And the descendants after him. So the man or the child Moab and the child Ben-Nami were children of incest, and now their descendants after them are mamzers, right? The other Moabites that come after and the other Ammonites, right? So with that, Lord willing, I hope that was edifying. Again, I give all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai, and say Shalom.